you didn't sign in the back, we asked that you sign the sheet in the back so we have record of the meeting. So with that being said, we're going to call our board's open adjustment to the city center in July 2021.
Safer,
Here.
Joey Engel,
Here.
Devin Murphy,
Here.
Craig Langford,
Here.
Jerry Harris, Amber Beal, John Bessam,
Here.
Ben Lewis,
Here.
Ronnie Davis.
And Lorraine is taking notes this evening, so it's very important that we speak loud and clear for her
And slowly,
and slowly. And let's maintain our name with everything that we do, just so it makes it a little easier for her to record the minutes. There's no minutes from the previous meeting. There's no old business or new business. We have a public hearing this evening. Variance 2102, 1281 Coventry Road, lot 8. They're asking for a reduction 2 feet of 20 feet rear building setback for a sunroom addition. The applicant here is with some of you. So what we would ask is that you come to the podium if you're asked to speak this evening. Address and then what your request is. Go ahead. Are you the applicant?
Yes.
Go ahead and give us just a brief overview of what your request is.
I was planning to put reduction to build a sun.
Your name.
My name's Nicole Mitt.
Thank you. Don't be nervous about that. What are you asking for?
To put reduction to build a sunroom on the back of my property.
For now. Staff review.
Yes, so this one you heard a while back, there's a concurrent vacation request, 2104. The city council heard it on 7/08. They did vote to table it, pending the decision tonight, as well as a utility. We have still not heard from CenturyLink. The other utilities have either said that they have new lines or that they are okay with the request. Kensington subdivision did approve when they platted the subdivision, all of the building setbacks as utility easement and drainage easements, which is why you received the request. So the request is for a 13 by 18 foot sunroom, which approaches up about 2 feet into the building setback. It is also for an open porch, which encroaches 2 foot as well. So for the Board of Zoning Adjustment with variances, you are asked to consider 5 findings of fact, which are used to establish granting or denying the request. The first being preservation of intent, which, if granted, is to be consistent with the purpose and intent. Ms. Nix has stated that if granting the variance, the sunroom does not impose a problem of consistency with the subdivision. It is slightly different from the adjacent uses, but does not drastically reduce setbacks like the compromised city access. Staff notes that it would be creating a lot with a different buildable area and underlots in the sunroom. In the subdivision, the sunroom is considered part of the primary structure, which is why the variance is needed. The open porch is not. It would be considered an accessory structure, which is allowed up to 7 feet from the back porch, provided it is not in utility easement or a vacation to be granted. The second item is exceptional circumstances. That exceptional, extraordinary, or unusual conditions or circumstances applying to the lot, parcel, structure, or intended use exist that do not apply to other properties or uses in the same district, which are unique to the individual property under consideration. The applicant's response is, well, the setback is encroached upon. I do not believe that the encroachment is drastic enough to warrant disapproval. As no exceptional circumstance or unique condition has been given as far as why the encroachment is necessary. The third item is hardship, not grounds for variance, that these special conditions and or circumstances do not result from the intended or proposed action of the applicant. No variance may be granted solely on the basis of economic gain or loss. The applicant's response is, it is our opinion that if we were to have requested a slight variance, that this would have been approved. And that the variance is reasonable request. The special conditions do not, staff's response is that these special circumstances do not result from intended or proposed actions as no hardship has been presented. Preservation of property rights, that literal interpretation of the provisions of this ordinance deprive the applicant of substantial rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same district. Ms. Nick's response, we believe this application and your approval of the variance lends this property certain rights to itself, and while these rights property, they do not take away from adjacent uses. The property has been fully constructed with a residential home. There is room behind to build a sunroom and a porch. This request is for the encroachment into the building setback. And it would be creating a lot that is different from the others in the subdivision. Number 5. Absence of detriment, that granting the variance requested will not create substantial detriment to adjacent property or that will materially impair or be contrary to the purpose and spirit of this chapter or the public interest. Applicant's response is that granting this variance will not cause substantial detriment to adjacent properties. Staff's note, variances are intended to allow for changes in the code for strict interpretation cause undue hardship due to circumstances unique to individual properties under consideration, and that reducing the setback to increase buildable area for a single lot where there is not any hardship prevented is contrary to the intent of the variance. If the variance is granted, board of zoning adjustment to state any conditions of approval.
We'll open up to the public before we have our discussion. So I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Was that you, Devin? Sorry, I can't pause it. I'm here like I did.
Preservation of intent, again, the variance if granted is consistent with the purpose and intent of the regulations of the district in which development is located. No variance shall have the effect of permitting use in the district that is not stated permitting use, accessory use, or conditional use of that. We have the applicant's response. We have the staff findings as well. I'll open up for discussion. Commissioners and move on to. Or different regards to that. Down to exceptional circumstances, an exceptional, extraordinary, or not partially that apply to the properties. Wow. Is there anything that's unique about your yard that you will need to use?
I'm on a corner lot, so I don't have enough space to hide.
This one, there doesn't appear to be any. Of course, hardship, grounds for the variance, that the special circumstances, either circumstances do not result in the intended or proposed action of the applicant. The variance may be granted solely on the basis of economic gain. Applicant's response, again, as you can read, they could have requested a slight variance. There's been no hardship that's been thoughts or any difference of opinion on that. That's what previously on this case, based on the. With that, I'm just going to ask, do you also have a bid for it not encroaching?
Yeah, if we need to go there, I do have a better plan to possibly go wider with it.
Preservation of property rights, that literal interpretation of the provisions of this ordinance would apply the applicant's rights on the issue of other properties in the same. We have some findings. The fact is when we remain structures, it would approach thoughts from the commissioners in regards to this one.
The only thing that can affect the utilities, but they've all signed it.
Now, just a little bit more. Absence of detriments. To adjacent property, or that will materially impair or be contrary to the purpose and spirit of the chapter. Stated it is no. Exactly, so we don't think it would be contrary to what's else. HOA that has to. Any thoughts in regards to that from any of the commissioners? Any other comments or discussion or questions from any of the commissioners?
Seems like we can go to the second plan and keep it out.
Staff. There is no further discussion, then I would entertain a motion. Page to grant or deny the request. It's just a version of the 2024 required building, rear yard setback for the R3.
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to deny the request.
So a motion, do I have a second?
John, I'll second.
Request. We will do a roll call vote, and if you vote yes, you're denying. If you vote no, then you're okay with it. We don't want to do it. Range through the roll.
Okay, Tony Davis,
No.
Ben Lewis. Ron Sessom.
No.
Second motion.
Craig Lang.
I second the motion so we can vote, right? But then you can vote however.
Craig Langford,
Yes.
Kevin Murphy.
No.
Joey Ingles. Jeff Saban.
We did approve of the motion. So because we denied, because of the denial motion, it was outvoted and it fails. So we think
Thank you for the clarification.
for the business, announcements for next BCA will be free. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the board on the business.
Joey, I'll make a motion to.
Second.
Motion and a second, is anyone opposed? Now. Order with the call the City Center Planning Commission for July 20th, 2022.
Jeff Saban. Joey Ingles.
Here.
Devin Murphy.
Here.
Craig Langford.
Here.
Jerry Harris. Amber Beal. John Sessom.
Here.
Ben Lewis.
Here.
Tony Davis.
First thing on the agenda this evening is a regular lengthy approval of the minutes.
Time to get to the minutes.
I'm really breaking some. This is John, on motion to approve the minutes from pending meeting 7/6/21.
Motion and a second, is anyone opposed?
I still need that. No, who did the second? Okay, who, John?
County Craig.
We don't have our cheat sheet, but
All right.
we have to make it.
All right, first thing on the agenda this evening is the ratification of the 2110 Jensen PLA.
John, second.
Motion and a second, is anyone opposed? We have old business this evening, first thing on the old business is rezone 19 the key property. Request was A1 to R3 single family. 8 acres, 881 North Taxi Road. Again, it's been tabled from 6/1, following the public hearing. 7/6, following discussion. So the first thing is to entertain a motion to bring it back to the meeting.
John, on motion to bring the board to rezone 19 property.
Motion. Second, is anyone opposed? Will, are you gonna represent?
My name is Will Kelstrom, and I'm representing Apple. That's a little bit of history on this one. June 1st, we asked for rezone 102.7 acres out on Tycoon Road, all of it to R3. At that meeting, it was tabled mainly over concerns that it didn't match the future land use map. On July 6th, we came back before you with the same proposal to get some feedback on what might be okay, what you guys might like to see out there. I gave some examples of what I thought could fit in the commercial acreage out there and how much it was. And you guys indicated to me that you would like to see a different proposal that kept the spirit of the land use plan. So today we're coming to you with a revised proposal. You guys have this in front of you? Okay. I've got
It's on the
this.
screen too, so.
Oh, okay. So what we've got for you today is we've got 2 acres on each corner. These are 4 roughly 1 acre commercial lots. If you can see, it's a little small print on there, but so what we're put right here is potentially spots for a Casey's, a couple of restaurants, and maybe a dental office or some other kind of professional office. So this is what we think is a supportable amount of commercial out there. The future land use map calls for commercial frontage all along Tycoon, with emphasis on the corners. We've given you commercial on both corners. The commercial lots front Tycoon, which is the major arterial, and the lots directly on the corners have access from the minor arterial. What we tried to do is strike a reasonable balance between what is required of the future land use map and what we think is actually viable out there. So as for the viability of commercial out here, I want to bring up another subdivision in town. It's called Copper Oaks out on 102 Centerton Boulevard. This isn't the first issue. This isn't the first time this issue with commercial and residential has come up. Copper Oaks on 102 was platted in 2005. They are required to leave 8 commercial lots fronting 102, which is about 10 acres. So I'm told that it took until 2018 for anything to go in there. 2018, Jake's Fireworks was built, 2019, Waffle House, and then Tooth Squad in 2020. So 13 years later was how long it took for the first thing to be built there. And now 16 years later, 3 out of those 8 lots have been built out. It's on the main drag through the middle of Centerton, and it's the main traffic route into Bentonville. So I want to repeat a couple things we said at the last meeting. So John Wary had him talk on what we were going to have to dedicate already. As John said in the last meeting, we're already having to dedicate around 8 acres, which is about 8% of the total acreage. That's just for right-of-way utilities. If we had to keep all of this commercial as it is on the future land use map, that basically makes about a quarter of this land unusable, which potentially makes it undevelopable, and means we're not going to be able to sell it. Few final considerations. Some concerns last meeting were brought up that you guys didn't want to set a bad precedent. I want to stress that this doesn't set precedent at all, whatever you guys decide to do. You guys aren't bound by precedent, and the planning commission is empowered to review each decision and each planning item on a case-by-case basis. If another piece of land comes up for rezoning 5 years or even 1 or 2 years from now, you'll be looking at a different Centerton with a new list of factors to consider. You guys also raised some concerns in the first and the second meeting about if you give up land that's designated as commercial, it's gone forever. I want to bring up some other numbers that I said in my last meeting. Keep in mind that from Kenyon, north of 102, going all the way down past 102, down Tycoon to Motley, there's 408 acres of commercial laid out there. And that doesn't include the business park or the industrial designations. We're only asking you to flex on a very small percentage of that. So with that, I'm here for any questions, and John Wary and Mr. Zarek are also here.
Can you clarify the request for me? It looks like you took that piece out of the rezone request, so you're just requesting R3.
Yeah, so what we've done, I should have clarified that. We have reduced the amount of R3 that we're asking for. The rest of it, those 4 acre lots, those are just going to remain A1.
So when you came up and stated, you said you broke those out as commercial, but you haven't, right?
No, I misspoke. But we did that because we were trying to avoid having to re-notify everybody. and because we don't really see there being a demand for it immediately out there right now, we don't know if there's a need to rezone it immediately.
Any thoughts from commissioners? I know that the last meeting, sort of notes, I was a participant in the first meeting. Any thoughts for the commissioners in regards to putting it off?
Yeah, it's gonna remain stagnant. Technically, in my opinion, this came back as R three, just the same as the first request without. Discuss last meeting what we would see. Discuss, I spoke out about wanting to see some commercial corners. Probably the pieces along the cars out there that could be commercial in the future. My opinion, this request is limited to the first.
I think the intent was to have that commercial, it's just not listed in the request. So then it would necessitate a tax split, right? To make that a separate parcel to the deed. Correct? Correct. So it's, to Joey's point, it's the same. And maybe that was, like you said, to reduce having to re-notify, but what's the intent of that 4 acres?
The intent is to, we can't develop it as R3. It's not being rezoned to R3. It can't be developed as anything under A1. So there's, if it's rezoned like this, it's not like we can just throw in that A1 into our large scale development plan and do whatever we want.
Right.
It's set aside. So we just reduced the number of acres that we want zoned from R3, and that is set back for potentially commercial. If it stays undeveloped for 30 years, maybe residential. I don't know, but it's reserved for something. How many acres are carved out again? 4, give or take.
2 and 2, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
My question is, would we need to do a tax split first before? Parcels. For the part that is saying no.
No, they would have to do a track split, like when they do a large scale development, or not a large scale, but like a subdivision. But for zoning purposes, no. They could do it like this, or they could have done the R3 and commercial, and they wouldn't have required a track split. However, if they had changed the request to include commercial, it would have necessitated another public hearing.
Other feedback or comments?
But I mean, what's happening?
So what's the reservation? A1. No. The whole thing was
Right, based on lack of commercial, there's no commercial on this request.
It's leaving it, it's leaving it A1, which means it will have to come back to the zone. If they were to go R1 through R3, that piece would still have to come back.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, and it could, I mean, it could get built as two RE lots, 2 houses. Guess we can get right away. That's a different conversation, but.
It's still designated A1. It's not residential estate. If we wanted to build anything.
Well, you could build, what's the minimum for the fund?
Yeah, is that great issue? That would be code. If the tax split it off, is A1.
10 acres is the lot. Right.
So whenever they bring that in,
have to be rezoned. And Joey, for the residential estate, 2.5 acres. Low density residential is 0.5 acre.
So to Joey's point, you could come build a house in that corner, but it's not. Yeah, it's on.
It still doesn't take away from the potential.
I'll make it less.
That's not big. If it's, if they want it commercial, it would be commercial, one house is gonna stop it, but, I think it creates a non-conformity with the zoning.
Does that make sense? Will?
Did you have like a rebuttal for that? Did y'all?
Well,
look at
so
that?
my rebuttal is essentially if anyone wants to build anything on here, you guys have made it very clear, especially at this point, that the only thing those 4 acres is supposed to be is commercial. So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the ball's in you guys' park when it comes to getting those rezoned.
Is the intent not to split that off in the future
Yes, it is.
as part of this development of this property?
It'll be split off and left as A1 because it won't be able to come under the large scale development.
No, if there's a track split on that, because it's under the A1 required size, it would have to be rezoned. At that time,
Okay, and what did you say the minimum lot size for A1 was?
10 acres.
Okay,
So would you consider commercial then, or are we gonna be back in the same boat? Yeah, you know, we're gonna see it again.
I don't have a problem with the proposal,
It's just how it was,
yeah.
how it was proposed.
so this was truly done as a matter of convenience. We're working with timelines and we're trying to get it through. But it's my opinion that isn't gonna end up anything other than what you guys want it to be. Unless it's, maybe 5 years from now, we can come in and go, there are no other houses here, there's no way commercial is ever gonna be here, maybe then, but
I'd imagine the buyer's gonna want to split that off.
I guess I'm confused as to what the lot split.
So when
issue is.
you do the track split, the lot split, that has to, it could stay as A1, but it's not important, so apparently staff says it has to be rezoned. It can't stay A1 because it doesn't.
Not 10 acres.
I understand. So you're saying that when we perform a lot split, we have to rezone it into conformity with what the land use plan is. Is that
Not the land use split, well,
No.
not technically, but it has to be rezoned
It does have to be rezoned.
okay?
Because that's
to meet the zoning district requirements.
Mhm.
Okay. Do I have a moment with my client?
Absolutely.
Okay, I understand what you just said about it. So this is a legal request.
Today it's a legal request. Today would be a legal request because we're not split.
Correct.
But we'd be setting ourselves up, the intent truly is to leave it in agriculture, we'd be setting ourselves up for a non-conformity with the trust. Does that make sense?
But if that's 4 acres, 10 acres, you would.
Right.
We could rezone out at that time. You would do the track split for that time?
They would have to do it concurrently. I understand.
Because basically that acreage, it went from 102 point something acres to, actually I have it right here, 102.7, and now it's 96.8.
That's more than 2 acres apiece?
No, that would be total, would be, would be total of 5 acres.
Yeah, it's around.
around 5 acres is what would be left as commercial. And the depth, I want to say it was like 250.
And that includes right of way. That would need to
Right.
be future right of way.
Mhm.
So maybe after the right of way, do two.
Yeah.
Uh,
Just would wish that would say commercial.
Right, if that was the intent. then
Yeah.
that's what we should say.
Then
They thought they wouldn't have to notify, but they're gonna have to
I
notify.
have to notify anybody when you come back. Split that, so. might
I
as well
realized
do that too.
that's new.
Do it.
I see what you're saying. So they're gonna have to go through another.
You're gonna have to go through another notification when you split that.
Exactly.
So they probably got some timeline with money tied up, it's one of them to do it now.
Right,
So when the buyer wants to split it off, you're gonna have to do another notification, come back again.
But at that time, they can plan on that financially. I mean, they can.
Yeah. I'd be okay with it.
I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with that, I'm just letting them know that that's what
Yeah,
they're
that's what I mean,
supposed
like, the intent, I agree with the intent.
Yeah,
It's just, it's not how it's written. It's not.
to. Right.
So if what you guys are saying is that when we lot split this, we're gonna be required to rezone it, and at that point, we're gonna have to rezone it C2, that's fine with us. That's, if that's what you guys are gonna hang out there, that's not.
It's not a hang up, it's a legal thing. So we're setting ourselves up for a future. If it was 10 acres, we wouldn't have no discussion. But in theory, if we approve it, we're setting ourselves up for some non-conforming lots anyway.
Okay.
So that's probably where our biggest hang up is this evening, that we have some discussion. Instead of creating two lots that we know in the future, we're gonna have to do the same thing.
Okay.
Is what we've been asking for 2 meetings now. That's the reason we did the discussion.
Okay.
It's kind of just letting you know what's coming next.
Okay, so. That event, I think we probably like to table it for now. Well, because if we're gonna end up with 2 lots that we're technically not allowed to have under A1, then I think I know that where this is going, and I think it's a pretty easy fix. So I misunderstood earlier. Now I'm on the same page here.
So, for clarification, I want to make sure that we also have an agreement with the commissioner so that we're not looking within a bid time. Then you come back with two plus or minus, and all of a sudden we're hung up again.
Mhm.
So if now we know what the true intent is, then I would like to at least get a feeling from the commissioners so that you're not notifying people coming back, have 2 commercial, and then we say no again. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So let us have a little bit of discussion this evening in regards to that.
Go ahead.
So if they come back, we're gonna spend some time, we're gonna spend some money. Understand they've had 3 discussions now. We would be at 2 acres and 2 acres, plus or minus a little bit. Eventually the right one.
Mhm.
Is that something that you guys think that you will support? Understand there's 2 that are not with us this evening, but just looking for some support or not in regards to the idea of having the 2 corners being commercial.
I would support these. Correctly.
I'm gonna agree. Yeah, I'm gonna say everything else for it.
Legal wish to wait and see again.
So. When I had the chat outside, I was mistaken on what the issue is. So if we're rezoning it today, we're not creating lots. Then we're gonna have to do a lot split to do we're gonna have to do a lot split to do a large scale. And we're gonna have to do a rezone to do a lot split. So nothing's gonna be in non-conformity once we get out of this meeting. In order to develop it, we have to put it into conformity. So I think I'm fine with it. Excuse me, I think I'm fine with going ahead on a vote tonight.
Don't.
Or,
Or you can go with council.
right, so now on that, it's my understanding because in most other cities, right, sure, but I understand you guys have your own set of rules, but and I'm pretty sure what you guys' code says is that the same request can be brought back, or it says a rezoning request may not be resubmitted.
So significant change, I believe, is review. The wording is the Brian shared.
Okay, so would an R3 and a C2 not be a significant change?
That's the intent that you shared with us this evening, in my opinion. Brian's on the phone, you're welcome to get his opinion if he differs, but what you told us this evening is that your intent is to develop R3 and 2 commercial lots.
Or all 4, but
If you come in with something different or that's similar, it's technically the same thing as what you shared with us verbally this evening of your intent.
okay.
Okay, Brian is on the call. Are you still there, Brian? Did you hear?
Yeah, I am still there. In fact, we're getting into an area again where I think I don't want to start giving opinions as to where we're going. Is it possible for me just to mute my phone so I can cut in when necessary and you guys keep me on?
Yes, you were muted, but I wanted to see did you hear what the question was?
No, I did not hear the question. I'm able to hear Mr. Kellstrom well. I'm having difficulty hearing the rest of the commission.
Brian, here's the question. Have you seen what we proposed we've reduced the amount of R3?
So it's my understanding that you're wanting to propose leaving the 4 corners A1, correct?
Correct. And if
Okay,
this is
but the
denied-
problem is A1 requires 10 acres or multiple
Correct.
acres.
But we're
Okay.
not creating new lots. So nothing will be a non.
It's my opinion that I don't know that would be permissible.
In that event, we're going to replace the table.
I'm going to take the motion to table a business property from A1 single family. And again, the request this evening was 96.8 acres. Makes the motion to table rezone 21-19 Yeah. Motion, we have a second. Is anyone opposed? Thank you, guys. All right, next on the agenda this evening, under old business is subdivision 1905, Maple Estates, Phase 2 final plat. This is south of Petworth Lane, R2 single family, 16.39 acres, 53 lots. Again, this was tabled from 7/6 of 2018. Overview or update, I guess.
Yeah, my name is Diego Garcia Lechepe. I'm some east of the project, everything else on panels. But all that's been taken care of. The last item that was holding us up was the manhole testing that passed early this week and great. Was good with it. Everything with engineering has been taken care of, so just that's a question.
Yeah, can we get a motion to?
John, I motion to return subdivision 1905 Maple Estates.
Just a second, is anyone opposed? Done.
All right. So this project, Street and Red Street. Final plat still. We have gotten bonds for streets, drainage, and water and sewer. We also received bond for 100% of the cost of the installation of aerators. There were some waivers that were approved during the preliminary plat process that are listed in your planning commission packets. We do need to get some written confirmation from Public Works that is good. Both did get verbal confirmation for using pump sedimentation basins, for adjacent street agreements. For your consideration tonight, there is an addendum request to update the previous addendum that was approved for Putbrook Lane. Per the previous addendum, the improvements were to be completed prior to the final plat of phase 2. There was also to be an additional 5 foot dedicated. The proposed new addendum shifts those improvements to phase 3, as well as the right-of-way dedication. Also for the Green, there's a slight shift. The proposed improvements were constructed with phase 2, but the 30-foot right of way adjacent to phase 3 that was supposed to be dedicated with the previous agreement is supposed to be dedicated with phase 3. So this updated addendum is for us to discuss and for planning commission approval tonight. On the final plat, there is a third plat. There are minor comments left on the final plat, but they're record documents have been approved. The grant report has been approved by John Wary, our city engineer. There is an existing lift station on the property. There are quite some large phase 3 power lines that are going to have to remain in order to service the lift station. The existing easements will be sufficient to cover those. For actions that we will need to do tonight, the final plat will need to be approved. Also, permanent bonds, utility and street bonds. Addendum to the should be. They run along the front of a couple of buildable lots, but there is a setback from them. The easement is pretty large.
Developer, just want to give us some rationale with the deferral and movement, what we agreed on previously.
Quite simple, right?
They could move it offside. I didn't know they could do it.
It's because it's easy.
Look, we're still, getting rid of something. I mean, it was there before. Yeah. The property was developed. So I just want to make sure, yeah, there's no any issues.
That's right, we had a lot of.
John, did you sign off on the date, Detroit? Just trying to understand the vacation of transportation. It's existing and it's just going away because it's on the subject property that. And, that's- okay. Great. The right away, why are we deferring the right away? Well, I get it, but I just want to make sure that's what we want to do. That's the problem. Frank's not here, you can want to. Yeah, do it again today. Just for kicking the can. You know, maybe for- I get it, I totally get it. Can we get stuff that? Well, then we can approve it. You know what I'm saying? You're referencing Maple Estates Phase 3, but there's no. I'm thinking worst case, your developer stops, where he's at. And we don't get any of that because there's no Maple Estates Phase 3. Yeah, but I don't know that. That's not a given. Legally, if Ryan's okay with it, I'm okay with it. I get that, but at least you have the right way to fix it. It's not that I don't agree with the constructability of it. It's just that we're referencing something that's not existing.
there a way to get an assurance on this? I'm okay linking it to phase three, but is there a way to get another sort of assurance on this? In the event that phase three doesn't happen?
They're not nothing wrong already.
We're not accepting the work, so there's no bond.
Or we did reach that. I'm already lost it, lost it. I was correct.
But that work's not included in the bond because they didn't do the work, right?
There's already a bond.
There's legislation.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Special counsel is for tomorrow.
Subdivision 1905, Hayward State Space. Actions. Utilities, covenants.
Motion. District 4, Mark. Remind them to review this, council.
I have to scroll through everything to get to them.
With that,
John, I'll motion to open the public hearing for Title 14 zoning ordinance. Devin, second.
second is in the I'll go ahead and open up to the public.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate your time. First, apologies for you having to sit through the conversation. Already voted it through the council back in June. We were a little bit late to the table. We didn't understand this coaching through the R3 zoning district. My name is Jesse Porter. I'm around the woman with developing that state subdivision. So, last couple of years, 2 years ago, several years after we ran the subdivision purchased about 12 acres there. Northeast corner. We've been going through some design review with Morrison Shipyard engineer on this. That found out on June 1st about the land use hearing. I was on my way, or we're going to be attending that here in spring the other night, couldn't make the meeting. It didn't immediately click until I think maybe the following day that, wait, that also means that our R3 has to become something else. It can't be what it was, which was R3A zoning, single family, two-family, maybe triplex and multifamily. All uses were permitted on 12 acres, and that was our understanding when we purchased the property. Spoke with her the day after the planning commission meeting. She informed me that it forwarded and that the designation was purely single family, so we lost all the other uses permitted in for that property under when we purchased it. And that's really our concern. We bought 12 acres a couple years ago that allowed multiple residential uses. And then we come to find out pretty late in the game that all but one of those uses have been removed from property purchase. That purchase price was substantially higher than what we paid for single family land because it reflected the location and abilities of that property to be developed. We bought it, I remember spending maybe 3 years ago, so we hadn't done a lot. But in the last 12 to 16 months, we have cycled through some money in design work with our engineer and architect. Orson Shipley had gone through some exercises. Last 2 exercises that they prepared for us work for multifamily development. We met with staff and presented them with our multifamily development scheme. We've had that on hold probably since maybe the winter of this last year. We go out and find an architect. We've had them working on initial design layout. They did conceptual floor plans and building elevations for us. Then we released them probably 3 months ago on full construction documents. So we put a considerable amount of time, effort, and funds into architectural plans that we can utilize on this piece of property. So our request is to, however that may look, if that's R4 MF, we want to be able to retain the uses that we bought our property for and we're planning to develop them as. That's really what we're looking for. I do understand, it's an easy one to look at with a single family on 2 sides and its own single family on to the west. So it's easy to go, okay, this needs to be single family, but I would say 2 things to that. One, again, going back to when we buy a piece of property, as if I think anyone here, if they bought a piece of property that were allowed, somebody came and change that, concerned with that, but beyond that, there is a multitude of land uses. There's townhomes, I believe, that were recently rezoned. There's commercial, it's ag developed to the south, so unknown future uses there. The city's old water building is just south of that. And honestly, this is residential adjacent to residential. There's a scale factor there. Setbacks required on multifamily zoning. These aren't going to be precedent against any single family homes. No stub outs coming out of the final phase of the northern side of state. So this will be a standalone pod. It only has access to Keller List, so it has no particular interaction with any of the residences. Well, not to the east, there is one connection. You're correct. I think
It was
Nicole, yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
I was
it was
thinking
connected
directly
there.
out of the north, there's no connection, but there is an old street stub out.
Right around in there.
Phase 1, that's correct.
I can see if I can zoom in a little bit.
But ultimately, it's residential against
Right there.
residential use. And I believe the comprehensive plan probably talks about it. I think it was maybe been brought up recently with a Lindsay rezoning, where you've got a mixture of residential land uses. It doesn't have to be one mini by all single family. Residential land uses could be compatible at different scales of density. So I don't think there's a compatibility issue to discuss. And so I understand why single family is the easiest option, but I also don't think that more family development on this piece of property is compatible with land uses that exist out here. And it's at a major road intersection. So increased density at major road intersections is a further as well. So again, we're just looking for some discussion on how we can retain some of the land rights that we had when we purchased this property. And at some point, that's the most important thing. I did have a chance to look through some of the new regulations, which were definitely needed. It was a very confusing code, as it was written probably many decades ago for all of us. So I'm glad to see these. There's a couple of things I would mention to staff, maybe about some of the language in there. But what's important for us is a road to figure out how do we retain our development rights in the property. Thank you, sir.
Joey, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing. for 14 zone code amendments.
Second.
Motion and second, and then on closed. Give us just
Okay.
Let me grab the microphone.
Brian was confused with that.
Yeah, I'll grab the
Oh, Brian
microphone.
can't hear. Okay.
I feel like I'm Vanna.
Okay, after the work session with the phase two, when we started getting into the details, there were changes that were needed. I'm gonna get it there. The text as far as,
I'm working on it.
for the phase one changes, so that they would agree with what is in phase two. Okay. So as we go through here, on page 2. Okay, this is single family, the height requirement. We had talked about 35 feet or 2 stories. And that's the way it is typically written. Then accessory structures. And make sure that we have this written correctly. Exceptions were in-ground and above-ground pools. They need to be 10 feet from the rear setback. So they need a 10-foot rear setback, and then you don't, portable structures are allowed in the rear setback. Is that correct?
That's what we talked about the first time.
Okay,
But I don't remember.
It's above ground.
It says in-ground and above ground.
Okay, read.
because we talked about like if they were like against someone, the fence, and then like they have the deck.
But if we get to what we just discussed, I mean, some of us were against it, 2 foot encroachment to the easement, no utility.
I wasn't against that. I was against the approving the variance and it had no basis.
If you, it sets a precedence for anyone else to encroach. When you allow an encroachment for
I think 10
without a
foot's a
hardship.
little excessive. I don't know what you guys discussed.
What's the difference in ground and above it? Is above ground portable?
Yeah.
I would say that's a portable structure.
I could move that, but why, I don't know what we would include.
I think just because of
Because I think it's because we have some pools and they built a deck around them.
Oh.
And they're sitting right there on the fence, looking over the fence.
And I'm apologize for not being at the meeting. We have this conversation about.
We're dealing on a case-by-case basis, here, because we've got a lot of older subdivisions that everything's easement, it's not a public setback. Side of the woman, village, repairs, potentially have a utility. But then, again, you might have a property where they can't, but you might have utilities in there.
Well, this-
trouble with that.
I don't think, are we permitting them to go into utilities?
No,
But she's talking about
No,
the setback. But
just
what I'm
setback.
saying is, my point is, we've got a lot of subdivisions, that everything's a utility, easement, that's not in the setback.
Yeah, but they would have to vacate that
yeah,
portion.
Okay.
right. And then they would be allowed to go in. They would just have to be in.
Yeah, and they could vacate it, provided there's no utilities
Right.
in that
And
area.
That goes to my concern, right?
So they could go all the way to 10 feet with the pool, which is an accessory structure.
Okay. I'm good with that. We got a process.
Seems like a lot from the property.
all the accessory on it, 4 foot or 5 foot deck, I would think I think 10 feet makes sense if you want to look at this.
At least you have a line in the sand with 10 feet.
You know, you're gonna have a fence behind it. If you think about it, putting it right up against that, and I think it's a little tougher, so I think the 10 feet.
Okay, then, on the side, it had stated that it was prohibited before. And then, you discussed on portable structures that you didn't have a problem if they were portable, but they could encroach in the side setback, correct? If they were permanent,
Yeah, I think.
You-
we're okay
or-
with that. For the board, I think we're okay with that.
okay. We just tried to work on cleaning that so that it
Because
was
we
fair.
had the discussion, the fact that somebody doesn't want to have to put a shed in the middle of the yard.
Mhm.
So that if it was portable, we could use,
I could tuck it in the corner, whether it's to the rear or the side. Okay. Then we have residential R3D, and that is for medium to high density, two-family dwellings, which people call duplexes. It's not two-family attached, and so we put this area as intended. And this is what's confusing. It says attached two-family dwelling units on a single lot. And that wording may be confusing.
I mean, that makes sense. It just means you're not gonna
Okay.
split it. You're not gonna have
You
a-
can't sell it
It's not
separately.
like a
Yeah.
typical townhome where you would have a zero lot line. Or they couldn't sell individually.
And that's one thing that we'll have, I'll get to. But we'll have to, on the townhomes, their building and fire code, it's like an apartment style, a townhouse style. So our townhomes, I think we need to look at single family attached. We need to rename these.
That's what I understood when the fire department talked about, you have to have that separation wall, so it really is actually 2 units.
And they do, they need some work anyway. So. And page 3. Okay, the area requirements. What it had in there was 8,500. And this, for each dwelling unit was 4,250. It really didn't reduce much, that allowed for the density, the same density ratio. So, and this is what Barbara had worked out. This is what we had discussed on the phase 2 on the chart. That's where I took all of this from. So it was reduced to 8,000 square feet and then 4,000. And then the lot would just remain at 80. Height requirement, we just clarified 2 stories so that we don't have, 3-story in single family. Duplex, which is unlikely.
This is just duplex, right?
This one is
Yes.
just duplex.
What purpose does the B under area? Does that serve a purpose? To define a minimum lot area for dwelling units as we know it's only 2?
It's a standard of what, kind of like how it is set up now.
Okay, so
So
all
that's
the other ones?
why. And then some of them, as you go through, you might have a minimum lot area, and then it's like, okay, so much for the first 2, and then
I can-
more.
So
per
on
unit.
single family, you would list the minimum lot area for dwelling unit, the other minimum lot
One. But it, see it,
area. It's fine.
I mean, yeah. If you want to remove it, it's fine. It's just as long as that it's clear that it's for 2 dwelling units, 8,000 square feet. for 2.
I guess if someone wanted to build.
I guess I could do a 2-bedroom and a 3-bedroom.
Yeah.
Different sizes.
What we're saying.
But
is
you're
one
saying that we
We're saying
just
one
need to
lot.
say 8,000.
Yeah, I don't disagree with one line, probably would be okay.
Okay.
You know, they won't go free.
So you would, so,
It's just a duplex, right? I seen a 3 and a 2.
But no, better.
Yeah.
so you're saying just do 8,000 square feet for 2 dwelling units.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
That's what- might eliminate some.
Height requirement, we just added the 2 stories. Exceptions, the same for the pools. For the duplex. And for the, allowing the portable structures in the side. And when we get to the R3, we did have 6 units. And we discussed in the work session, going to just limit you to the 4, so it was more consistent. And also, kind of when you get past that point, even with this, it's, you can, this can, 4 units can blend in easier in the neighborhood than apartments can. So, and one of the questions, I don't know that we actually talked, we called it multiplex. Is that acceptable, like in P or what? Was the zoning?
That not have to be considered. Think of firewall. But you can have 3 or 4 attached dwelling units.
When or townhomes, you have to have yard on some side. So if you have a fourplex where they're back to back, that's considered an apartment by building code and building that standard. Whereas if you have 4 in the line, it's a different residential code. Once you put them back to back, that becomes an apartment and it goes to the building code. It's supposed to be residential.
Say back to back, like there would be no.
Correct. So if you have 4 of them, you have neighbors or tenants behind you to your side. Whereas a townhome, you have. As long as you do it, if you stay in the townhome, you're in the residential code, which is less stringent.
You're saying they could cluster a group of 2 together, meet this, be considered an apartment or.
Correct, and then it goes to the building code, and that's a higher standards.
Multiplex probably makes sense.
Bless you.
It could be a townhome or a
Small, single-story apartment, a 4-unit apartment.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because I mean, we talked to a lot of architects and builders, and you put multiplex, they don't know what that means. They start making phone calls saying, "What's your definition of multiplex?" And if we keep it as simple to the buildings prior to residential code, that eliminates that phone call.
Well, that's what we're trying to do here,
Right.
is trying to figure out what to name it. Do you think the multiplex is confusing? Because I would have the same question reading it, I would have to call and say, why is this not happening?
I don't have a good answer. We need this type of zoning, but how do we keep it simple where we're not getting a bunch of phone calls, saying, hey, what is this?
Well, it does state that it is intended for one structure on a single lot that consists of 3 to 4 attached dwelling units arranged side by side or stacked, typically with a shared entry from the street. This district includes structures such as apartments and townhouse style apartments. Does not include single-family attached dwellings.
But to the fire code, when you're stacked, you're
That's-
sharing
yeah, that's
2
what I was
walls.
gonna-
Right.
It could go to either code, right?
If you put that as the, when we talk about the definition as defined by fire code, so that's when you come and make the definition. How you guys use the definition. When you change multi-
I would do that in some definition, but
or fire code will change. So instead of match up.
Sounds like we have to have 2 different zones, one for the stacked. It's like 4 on 4 where they share.
I'm talking about definition, when you were talking about what's the definition of townhome.
Oh,
If we it match up definition. Fire, fire. That was really
Oh, shit.
I'm gonna be completely honest. Zoning stuff, I'm still way behind on learning. And that's why I'm asking you guys, trying to explain. No ground where everything matches, that makes it easier. That's why that was, my whole intent to all of this. Last week, was how can we come together to make this easier on all of us? We're all busy, and hey, a few more emails and phone calls.
See too many of them stacked or like that, you know, but
No, I was not saying you get into like an actual. Like I said, that you better get the commercial code. If you're gonna go that route, you might as well go there. Don't stack and say.
What if they have a side yard?
Well, front back, sorry. Straight out of the residential code.
I'd say unless we make another zoning code for apartments with a 4 unit max, this zoning code could have structures that can go to residential. The two different fire, I'm sorry, the two different fire codes are residential and apartment. Commercial.
Commercial, right? You have the three main codes, you have the fire, commercial, and then residential. When townhome, stand resident,
But if you stack them, you go to commercial.
go with commercial, or to make them back to back.
Oh, you mean stack vertically?
So if you have, take a square.
Yeah.
And then. Again, if they are back. Yep. Like that. And now consider the apartment.
Yeah, I got you on that one.
So it doesn't matter if it's stacked or not. Once it becomes stacked, or you're back to back, you go to the commercial.
So this would only be
No.
this would only be dwelling units that are side by side.
So you would just write this to say, this applies to residential code only. The fire code.
Or
And anything else that doesn't apply to residential fire code.
Yeah, can we not just call it down at that point?
But are you?
We have,
Where is this, it's the intent to make it where you can have the, where
these,
you have them back to back. In this code as well as.
it was, mhm.
I mean, it's spelled out, as long as you have it spelled out, we can use it, multiplex, just as long as we explain what is
Define an
there,
apartment and define the resident,
what
the commercial and the residential.
Yeah.
What kicks
your
you
intent
to,
of this zoning is.
Well, it's to not be subdivided. You may have 4 units, but they can't be subdivided on their own lot.
So one owner is a rental property with one owner.
Yes,
and 4 units.
yes.
But depending on how they orient the units, depends on the code that they.
And I don't know if that has anything to do with zoning,
It doesn't, technically.
I just want to make it easier on all of us with the terminology. Because I mean, we spoke with Jake Meester, and you guys were looking at doing this exact same thing, changing your wording of your zoning to match the codes, so that way we cut down on a lot of the people. That type of stuff.
You just don't see multiplex often. running through zoning codes. I just don't know how they define the stack or the single farm.
So townhome, you could have it a mile long. Northeast, they have a big home row house. You're probably familiar with that. And we already have in our zoning code where it cuts off, it can only be so many. So your zoning is helping us in the fire because I don't have anything that would limit the building 60 units in a row. And now I've got to make sure that how can I stop this if I have a fire in one end, with construction and everything else, making sure that we don't go.
But our town home zoning district was intended for single family attached. And that's one problem. They can, in the fire code, they can do townhomes that are not, they can all be on one lot.
Separate
And that's,
structures.
yeah, and so that's a problem.
So
With-
they're individually sold.
Yeah, townhomes to them are not the same as what is intended in our zoning. So that's why we've got to work on that section too.
Because that's so point, we just define it, and you have to clearly state what it's related.
What an illustration of. Maybe. You got an illustration because here's A, here's B.
What do you want to call it? I mean, we could just do M4 and then 3 and 4 units.
Do we just delete the word multiplex?
I think
No,
that
during meeting, I did.
multiplex makes it, I think there's gonna be different buildings on one area, which.
And I understand, we had a really hard time trying to come up with something.
I
And when we
think
looked it up, that was something that was found and associated with those. Instead of multi-family. But, I mean, we could do this one.
R4 multifamily. That's like high density. That's truly apartment.
So does this be medium density? Medium high
This is
density?
medium, this is medium to high. It's medium. Well, in between.
Get rid of multiplex, so we call it medium high. multiplex? Because it's all gonna be one structure.
I get to love this color.
Medium
Medium, yeah,
Medium throws it into the, how many units you put on
Yeah.
one.
Well,
And
we
then
have
it goes to high
medium,
density, goes to 4 to 4.
Oh, we use a definition rather than-
4 less, high is 4.
well, we have medium, high density two family also. Mhm.
Just put R3 on everything. Got a little nervous face going up here. You know?
Oh, we have lots of time to.
So think about this, if we just define this, we put lot size, we're okay with. I mean, we're breaking it down to so specific. We have two questions, we got a fourplex, whether, if we're saying medium density, we're going about 8 units per, or whatever that number is. I'm just throwing it out there for discussion, and if it's more than that, then it goes to high density. High density will allow 16 units per acre, wherever that number is. Is that, I'm just throwing that out there.
I think what we're trying to define, and maybe this is what's creating confusion, what we're trying to define is the difference in multi versus single. And when we got to multi, then we not only have apartments, which is one density, but then we have others that are multiple. And that's the reason that we're trying to define that in this area versus having an R2 maybe a single family, does that make sense? Or an R2 to single family? So that's the reason that I think we're trying to define.
And there was a big gap between apartments and multifamily.
That simple as just putting in and just calling.
Yeah, I was just thinking, just R3 medium density, then you have R3 high density,
Yeah, I'm.
defined by the number of units, so, 4 or less is medium.
Yeah.
5 and above is high, which is the next category that we have right now.
Yeah, because R3 isn't actually medium, R2 is our medium, R3 is our medium.
Oh, it's
Too high.
medium high. That's the
Medium high.
definition of R3.
Yeah.
Good job, John.
So it's on, medium high is on,
And that matches the, does that better correspond with the land use plan? No. Yeah.
well, yeah,
Better,
yes, yes. That's
So
what
we
we,
have, we have the SF, single family, and D duplex, and then there's M. Well, multi, or it's called multi. Or M.
Technically, a duplex is multi-family, which is, we changed we took the wording of duplex out and called it multi-family.
Two family,
Fire code, right?
Two family.
two family,
two things.
two family.
You should have single, two family,
And then multi.
And that's pretty consistent.
and multi-family.
The multiplex came from like duplex, triplex, quadplex. That's where the plex came.
Yeah,
Multiplex.
so,
But, okay, well, then we've got a multi-family, which is your apartment.
that family is now
It's
a,
in that.
R4 and
yeah, but this is R3. And you can only do 4 units.
Just a thought, maybe MF4. And then go to your, that would keep it in the medium high at, because it'd be multifamily up to 4 units. Or R, M4. We did have M6, because we were limited.
I don't know why.
Just because I get confused with R4 in
yeah.
that. Trying to distinguish it. Or-
But in our zoning, that's still
in zoning,
residential.
it's a residential use.
Oh, yeah.
To them, they have to build to a commercial standard, but for us, we're use.
But then they know that if it's R3, it could be either one. If it's R4, it's 100% commercial. Right?
You do that, absolutely. Agree, multi-family, and spell it out, that it is,
Fire, commercial.
once you have it,
Right.
yeah. And then R2 would be multi-family, which is the personal apartment.
I like it.
On that one, I mean, I'm-
It's still 20.
Okay, are we
We're not done yet.
R3M4 or R3MF?
And
The R3 multi.
okay, could I just make change the revised last sentence to this district does not include single-family attached dwelling units? Can I just do that because it does allow for other things, I mean, the other types. Take
But
out,
it's
take
clearly
out the
states that it
includes
consists of 3 to
structures.
4 attached dwelling units,
Right, and that's fine. I want that. It's the very last sentence where
Good, but it does not
just
include,
put, yeah, but just do this
just take it all.
district.
You can take it all out. didn't you?
I just want to be clear that this does not include single-family attached dwelling units.
Yeah, that's a duplex, right?
Well, it could be more than that. You know, more than just a duplex.
But it-
Think of
That would be
townhome.
like what we are calling townhomes in our townhome district. Because that's where they will go. If they're gonna sell them on their own lot, then they need to go to a different place.
Well, then let's state that. Let's state that it needs to remain on the lot. To me, when you read the. not-
It does say on a single
It's
lot.
on a single lot.
Can we just think of it, you don't need.
Why do we need the last name?
Because they're, to have clarity between the fire code and the zoning code. Because what they call townhomes is not what we call townhomes. If they say that they're building townhomes, we need, like on one project, we had a terrible time trying to figure out if they were selling them individually or if they were not. And if they are, it's a different process for us.
There's one lot. That would be
Because
zero
they-
lot lines just on the building. That's not correct. That would be one.
Because they'll come in with a PUD and they'll build it a certain way and then want to come back later and split them up.
So what I'm not understanding is why there's a disconnect between planning's version of what a townhome is compared to what a fire department is. Why do you have two definitions? Why not just have, or a fire code is internationally accepted, same definition of fire code.
We wrote ours back in 2007, I think, and I don't, that was what the understanding of a townhome was, that it was, it'd be individually owned. But they have a different style. I guess they go on the style of design of the building for what they need for their, I don't know that do you actually have a true definition in your fire code? What about for apartments?
So,
That.
while
Can
he's
you read
looking,
it?
Lorraine, while he's looking, this last sentence, what you're trying to get across, if I'm not wrong, is that they can't be on their own lot.
Yeah, it's not intended to for.
This, I mean, it is single family.
No.
Single owner. Okay,
A single owner, not.
so can we clarify that to just talk about the property? I mean, we already say that it has to be on a single lot, and there's 3 to 4 units.
I know, it was just that there appears to be so much confusion over some of these that this guy just, we can take it off. It's your code.
To me, that last sentence. confused.
Not within the above definition. Clarify the single owner. The single lot and the single owner. Is that not- You're trying,
I think the single lot.
That's
Just-
fine, we'll just take it out.
Are you
We'll
worried
just
about
take it
that?
out.
Are you worried about an HPR?
No, right now, we have townhomes in our zoning code that are for single family attached. But they, in their fire code, they would allow, they could build townhomes under this, because it's one structure, they can put 3 or 4 attached dwelling units. And they don't decide whether they're on their own lot or not, they don't care.
So if
Right.
you say that it's a single lot, and then you define the lot. Is that,
I said, I'm fine with taking it out, that's fine. I was just trying to make it clear that it does not include single family attached
what would that be?
townhomes. And that's why it's confusing.
What zoning district would that fall?
townhome,
RTHD or RTH
residential.
and F12.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's single lot with the area. And I think the only thing that's confusing about that is the single family attached dwelling. To me.
Okay.
Then
When
Well,
all
should
you're,
have
when
been
all you're trying to
clearing
say
it out.
is that it can't be.
The whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't know what all.
no problem.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just trying to follow instructions. If I keep hitting the wrong thing.
That makes sense from a buyer perspective.
You're wanting to distinguish zoning between having them is each one owning their individual.
Yeah, it would be one owner owning all versus one unit that's split with different. Well, with different property.
Once you get into, the construction, say whether it's one owner or it's a 5-unit building, it's 5 units.
Okay. And this would help Frank and probably some other people because the utilities. So,
Okay, so in this district, on the lot area, just trying to be consistent with what, with the density and so forth. Minimum lot area reduced to 10,000 square feet for the first three. For three, well, we were did this. Because we only have 3 and 4 units now, so 10,000 for 3, 12,000 for 4. That's consistent with the duplex of 8. Okay. Setbacks, there was 25 in here, but in this whole district, everything else is 20. And that was what we got on the phase 2. Height requirement, just added in the 2 stories. The lot coverage, we put 50%. That was what was in it that we discussed in phase 2, where before we had 60%. So that's something I would like just to verify that which you want. Because we can, what, if you want 60%, then we can change it. You know, on the phase 2. still.
we would find any other like.
All of the other ones were 50%. This was the only one that was 60.
Remain consistent.
Down in our downtown development.
It would be, it's the downtown.
Allows us to make those decisions.
And it would be a different zoning district also.
Yeah, it would, this,
Okay, so then we have an
We can
opportunity to allow.
Yes, we had talked about some overlay stuff, but.
No, I mean, I just.
They could, we would have to come in as
Once you get this one open, then we get some.
So, Maureen, just while we're talking about this, well, you just got brought up. When we were on, was it when I was chairing? Yeah, it was the Lindsay one. We were talking about the zoning and how you're not linked to PUD and how we might change that. Is this, can we change that here?
Are you saying, right now, we do not have a PUD zone district? So,
Yeah, now.
yes, so we do not have a PZD, a planned zoning district right now. So, or development. So right now, until we get that, that's another thing on the list to do. They would still have to do a PUD as a conditional use as an overlay district.
So the underlying zoning, say for the Lindsay, since we're using that as an example, would have to be the
R4.
They would just go through R4 MF, and then they could do the PUD to make, alterations to it, to accommodate, golf course and.
And what was, I think the issue that we had was that the density that they were proposing was quite a bit less than what it got zoned to. Is that right?
No,
It was
that's
last.
Right, but
fine.
if you do that without a PRD attached to it, they could just build whatever you rezone. to.
Yeah, they could build up to 18 units per acre.
That was.
Correct.
So when you have the PRD zoning district, it kind of locks it in. So you said that's another thing on the list. So when we do that, we'll have to come back and revamp this again. No?
I don't think
I
so.
don't think so.
No, because it'd be creating its own separate zoning district. So that would be like creating
Like a
instead of,
standalone code?
correct,
A standalone district.
correct.
There's a PUD, that's correct.
It still considers the underlying zoning, but there's a kind of throws it out the window. If you have a plan.
It's a conditional use on that zone, so that could be a little bit more flexible, but they still have to meet the underlying zoning.
The minimums for the.
And, and then if they are going to change some of like the setbacks and things like that, it does require them to provide, like the PUD currently has to be at least 25% open space for residential.
And we don't mention the PUD at all in this zoning document.
In phase 2, we do. And as we get to more detail.
I'm trying to get out of here.
I'm nice and hard.
Okay, and just so, this is,
Let's back up to the portable structures within all setbacks.
are prohibited within all settings.
So if somebody wants to put like one of those makeshift sheds or whatever, they would have to come before us to put it on their property. And put it.
For-
In the setback.
Without planning commission approval. That was something that y'all discussed, that if there was
Okay.
4 units that you wanted to be able to look into, see where they were allowed to go.
It want each individual tenant slumping up a,
I
plastic.
understand.
I can put my
Yeah.
shed behind your back door, I guess.
Yeah.
That's my shit.
Yeah.
Right?
For all 4 of you put in the shed in the same place.
And Just
Four
to
sheds.
I
clarify,
understand what I'm reading. Shed request. Every meeting we got 5 shed requests.
I don't think, do you see many sheds
Every
or
house
those kind of
has a shed.
structures?
Yeah, but
on
these are
four-
This
4
is a
units, 3
this
and
is a
4
four-
units.
Okay.
Yeah.
a fourplex. I'm saying 4plexes with 4 sheds.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I found a storage unit here before.
This is actually the code that you approved or recommended to the council for approval. We're just going back and
With some clarification.
clarification
Every time we
and
look at it.
changing.
it's
It does.
A little bit better.
There's your PUD, Joey.
It's probably gonna be-
Okay, residential. R4 multifamily, high density multifamily. The other one's medium height. Okay, I think, this area is intended for multifamily structures on a single lot in a single development. With a suitable lot area and maximum density of 18 units per acre. Additional density may be considered via the PUD process.
So this would be a large apartment.
Yes. Okay, the height for public assembly, we had 40 in here, but we had 40. We had to discuss 45. On the other,
I'm giving to you.
it was, okay, it's 40 on everything else. It's on the phase 2. We have that in the multifamily, but consider that we could probably go higher with the assembly building because we.
If the
have
buildings
these
would be
3-story
3 stories.
of apartments, so we could probably go higher.
You
It's
know how
like-
tall water code is?
I can't remember. I think y'all quoted before how tall it was, and I want to say it was 35
I was gonna guess like 35.
feet.
Well, 35, they can do, above 35, they have that aerial. Access or aerial apparatus.
Accurate, but
You're not under a.
Yeah,
yeah, but
What do you think?
I want to say they were 35 tall
I think that's
when we
right.
figured it before.
But I thought that was too fast.
35? Yeah. 35.
I don't know. I mean, you've got single family homes at 35 feet. Did y'all know that?
Mhm.
Okay.
A 2-story.
Right.
that's why I looked up. That's why I looked up.
Sounded good, though. 35, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
So is anybody opposed to?
Okay, lot areas, the residential, 18 acres, 18 units per acre, and that's, I think, Tony, that's more like what you were talking about. And then non-residential uses, we have 10,000.
Would that be like a park?
It could be even a resident, a neighborhood commercial or something.
In the R4?
You could have neighborhood commercial.
Then it would meet the neighborhood commercial requirements.
You're right. I don't know what it would be. I guess maybe clubhouse,
Yeah, it could be a clubhouse.
if it's on its own lot. But typically, it's all in one thing.
Okay. Yeah,
And I didn't bring,
residential beauty shop. Sell sheds. Multi-family sheds.
mm,
Do we take that out?
yeah, I don't know what it,
I don't know
what
what
it would be.
I think it's kind of quirky.
It is quirky.
And then the same goes on number 4.
Where it
Okay.
has the setback requirements.
Yep.
All right, I will wield my red pen or red lines.
Maybe that's it. Wasn't that
I mean, unless Juliet has some definition there that we really need to talk about.
okay.
Yeah.
Let me, I'm gonna circle this map block.
Right now, since it's our notes for this one, this red line.
Okay.
Going for number 9, which is on that. So,
Okay, well, okay, on the setback requirements, we did have 50. That's what it was in the air code. And with our phase 2, we looked at reducing that to 35, so it would be more about front, you know, get them closer to the front instead of all the parking. In the rear, 35, and 20 feet on any one side. The way it was written before was like 15 with a total of 30, but you can't make the other property owner give 15. I mean, so we wanted to just make sure that we had a good buffer there. And then street side 35, so it would be consistent with the front. Minimum distance between buildings, we have 10 feet. Of course, it would be up to the fire marshal. If more was required. I don't know if that, something else needs to be added to that. Height requirement, we went 45 feet or 3 stories. One. And this is showing one.
Yes, me having to do this is showing them all.
Oh, okay. And then there was the statement in here before that 1 additional foot for each additional 2 feet of setback. So since we increased the height to 45 feet from the 35, it added the story on the multifamily. We kind of reworded that additional height or stories may be considered via the PUD process. Require an additional 2 feet of setback on each side of the structure for each additional foot of height requested.
Move and it scrolls, sorry.
So the idea there was like
Correct.
other structure.
Yes. And I don't know. I mean, there are apartments that I've seen that they're 10-story and they're right. Yeah, so I was trying to make it.
Additional height or story may be considered.
I think what the intent of this was really to protect adjacent properties. So the higher they got, that they would move from that side or that rear setback so that they wouldn't be overshadowing their property because they would block, the sunlight and so forth.
Instead of nailing it down. Just additional height or story may be considered in the process. Require
No,
Fire.
additional,
fire official to determine medical.
well, do you want to, do you all want to be the ones that consider the setback requirements?
We will if they request it.
For anything more than 45 feet.
Well, wait a minute. What you said,
Yeah,
Just, 45 feet.
yeah, if you want more height, you need to request a few, they will.
All that for what?
Official will determine the medical fire official.
screening requirement, all I did is I just put further residential compatibility standards. It kind of talks about being located adjacent to another property, and then those are in that phase 2 revision. So I wanted to reference it so that they would know where to go find that. And then for the pools in multifamily. Okay, first you had stated that portable structures would be prohibited without planning commission approval. We didn't want them just sticking sheds or whatever everywhere. front was prohibited, rear located within 10, that they would not be located within 10 feet. And then the pools, 30-foot minimum setback, pool decking area, 10-foot minimum setback. May be subject to a greater setback due to residential compatibility standards if adjacent to a triggering property. That's the first change as far as on the schedule of uses. I didn't change anything from what last time. So,
Did you want to look at those from before? All right. I read your mind, so be grateful.
yeah, that's why you don't have,
Can y'all clarify the non-residential call outs in there?
on the accessory structures,
Several items that say.
Yes,
That wording there.
Yeah, it's repeated throughout that list.
yes. So remove that where it says,
No, I'm saying, figure out why it's. in-
Okay.
yes,
I guess if somebody came in
Yeah.
with a horse stable.
Oh,
It's
you-
on the mark.
you're talking besides on the accessory structure. The
maybe,
accessory structure,
I have no, this has
That's
nothing
no
to do
problem.
with accessories.
I
Okay.
think maybe non-residential, she was thinking if there was like a parking garage, for example.
Follow the commercial investment. I'm just.
Well, not if it's
Would be on
crazy.
the resident.
I know, that's just what popped into my head.
and I've got a question.
Oh, I mean, if there's a parking garage with it, it would be all on the same lot. Right, so I'm just wondering if, the parking garage would be in the scheme of multifamily, a non-residential structure. I'm just trying to think of what they've been.
I'm gonna say places of public assembly. Because in each of these zones, we have places of public assembly. For public schools, churches. religious institutions, I would say that's. If there's something else that.
I have a follow-up on it. And up here is barring any changes from the public hearing and y'all spoke tonight on the R3 area that's owned by Huber Mitchell and the R. It wouldn't impact the changes in the text, but on the map, as far as those two parcels that were in question from previous, if y'all wanted to change those.
We just went through a lot of discussion.
Well, it's still all phase one. So it's just clarifying.
Just, yeah, let's just send it back to the planning commission. Consider those two properties. And the zone. And what. They should be.
That discussion.
So all those changes are the same vote as those.
So, all right, because this is one thing.
Correct.
No, I don't.
Well, the map is part of the zoning amendment. But we have to make the changes on the map so that they fit within. originally when the property first was
Before
rezoned?
the- Was it rezoned as part of purchase? Did you buy it as R3?
Yes, sir. When we purchased, it was already zoned R3, and all we did was that was clarify, is it R3 and all the uses allowed in R3, or is it somehow restricted? And at that time, we confirmed it was not restricted, there was no limitation.
My question back, you have asked that.
Yes, I have an email I can dig up. Yes, sir. I may be able to find it here, but no, sir, not off the top of my head.
Not the original. Well, yeah, that's what the intention is. They, I mean, they did a block like R3. See what, okay, you see the forest and King, okay, and the R2 on the right. Okay, that was, that's Napa, and that was supposed to tie in with R2 at the top. And then R3 was all the bottom part, like King Road. And then they came back and put R3. Color and
Because this is cut off. So I have to go to this one. Sorry, Joey. You just got up there to look and I just screwed you up.
Great.
So where do you say this is
I am sorry.
Yes, that's a different subdivision there. At the bottom, it's that, so. They did part of it with the R2 and then. Yeah, but it's already from the R3. And then they, for a long time, they were trying to put a, let's just put,
That happens. That's.
Well, or well, it's right now, I mean, things change a lot. Right now, it's just what it is and what is the best. What fits in there. It could be our 3 EMS and it's easy today. You know, in Morningside,
Single family court?
That's your typical.
yeah,
So.
After discussions with brief but plain. And legal advice, yes.
there are,
What we have to go back to the fact that usually what a single family definition requires, I think, have this really underlying. And that's what we know. Let's review. Fine. Now we're going to do another. West. When we did that, and this one became family years. That was west. I think that's.
well, like I said, that was the original one that's expressed, but then, you know, but then they also came back, you know, looking at those other things that could fit within a residential area, but still,
They were still individual residences.
not the one piece, or not individual residences, and then they were looking at expanding to unassisted living, you know, as they get new.
And it was permitted, was it presented, those plans were presented.
The nursing home, assisted living, yes, it was. So it's not that that corner couldn't take on a users, I mean, it is a collector. They were approved with the condition upon meeting staff requirements and their drainage. They really just were trying to get too much. That piece, so they never got it done. Right, the use.
Sure. That's a question.
Just
Thank you. I think one thing would be interesting, maybe we could find the minutes from the original rezoning, just to see if there was conversation. I don't think any of us were around, at least I know I wasn't.
I've had a few meetings since then.
Yeah.
Actually, I wasn't either. That bottom, that little, well, part of it was, but there was a little strip along there. that
Devin was
was
there.
great.
Devin was there.
Yeah,
Devin and I both had several meetings since then. And we rezoned a lot of properties.
Yeah, it's hard to say what was, if there was any commitment to just single family or not, but you know, on the one hand, you have to say, well, they were rezoned to R3 with no limitations through a public hearing process that allowed all the residential uses, including apartments. Later on, they brought forward a essentially a multifamily, you classify it separately, but maybe not multifamily, but, you know, multiple people living in large buildings. And that went through a public hearing, it was approved twice. And now, what we're looking at is for this
I
to go
don't think
back.
they were individual units,
They were individual homes?
yes,
Okay,
in an assisted living type.
gotcha.
No.
Yeah, they bought.
Facility?
They bought, the last one that they bought, that one involved individual living units, if I remember correctly, because it had a, you know, large walking path and. some other
To the
things.
north.
Yeah, unless we're thinking about a different,
On this one? Oh, this one.
this is a different. Do we not have any?
I think that was a former
Yeah, I think you're right, Rick. I think you're right. Flagging in. Do we have any of this information available? Is any-
Where's not?
Yeah, where's Tom?
We have,
He wouldn't have been here then.
I can't get on the, no. It keeps kicking it.
If I search, you
Yeah,
all
let
lose.
me,
my-
I was connected and now it will not.
What's the impact, right? If the impact is nothing, then he would need to come back and ask for the zone or anything outside.
If he wants to avoid the process.
Because now there's development around it that may not agree, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
To be frank.
When was this property, when did you buy this property? 2 years ago?
So let's get some specifics. Find the email from Nicole or from staff.
I know it's in there, but my phone network won't allow me to open a saved email, but I do have it. I remember looking at it in the last 45 days.
So when did you first present the multifamily to the staff?
2020, before the pandemic.
I believe so. And we did mention that it would require, technically by how we designate things, a rezone to multifamily. I know that that had been discussed.
I think y'all had said that we need to process a PUD, and we questioned why we need to process a PUD if it's zoned for multifamily.
I said it would require a rezone to the multifamily because the underlying zoning has to match a PUD and a PUD because it's on one lot, it didn't meet the intent of the code.
And then we discussed the fact that the code is messed up, which is why we're gonna have this conversation. The code had pretty much 2 different standards for multifamily, lot areas, per unit areas, and we left that conversation, and I'll try to find that information as well. We said, if you can meet these standards here, because again, we're talking about R3, multifamily is allowed. It's not a conditional use, doesn't require PUD. You need the code. Now, there's 2 different code sections, so we had to discuss, well, which one you want to follow. The instruction from staff was follow these criteria, make the project work through these guidelines. There's no further zoning action required in the use by right.
I don't remember.
What was the?
I'll go back and search my email and see if I can find
I mean, we need some help.
it. No, I understand again, you know, it was new to me at the last meeting, and I wasn't exactly sure what line we're gonna go to this. I think there's a good bit of historical data we could probably work together. to put together.
Because, well, some of the requirements, if I remember right, were like your setback was 75 feet for apartments, and that was one thing that I thought you didn't want me.
Well, no, I looked at the site plan, the last site plan the Morrison strictly did, you know, 75 feet on the north and 50 feet on the south. So all of our buildings will be this setback.
I was like, what are you requesting, I guess, which?
I'm requesting not to take away the rights that were purchased.
No, I
You
understand
know,
that. What zoning classification was your development fall under? You assumed it was a permanent under the previous ways.
well, what's odd is that the old R3, which is more of a typical zoning district in most cities, it allows pretty much all your residential use. It really is multifamily. That's what you're going for with that R3, but it allows other uses as well. So we could have done single family or duplex. Zoning. What's changed up with the new zoning district is that you get multifamily townhouses, you can't do Multiplexes, you're doing apartments, and that's a restriction. So unfortunately, to get that use back, that's the only district we can ask for. And then we still lose the option to ever change. If we decided to go townhomes or decided to sell it, somebody else would do it. It just locks you into one zoning district, one use.
So what is your goal layout was, trying to figure out where you fit into this.
We do our, how do the buildings,
Actually, it came from that.
It's 3-story apartment buildings.
well, the original plan, so when we met with staff, we had 15 buildings. Garden style, 85 by 65. Once we got our architect on board, after those initial meetings with staff, our building became more linear. So now it's 42 by 120. So it's probably about the same square footage, but how it sits in the lot obviously has to be.
Okay, I have the email written by
Okay.
that, but it asked me. Okay,
So this is just a concept. This is nothing officially.
Yeah, I was trying to.
it says, because you were, and I'm not sure about the concept. All right, it says the R3 district requirements have contradictions. Oh, has contradictions, as we discussed in the concept meeting. Our entire zoning code is outdated and needs to be reworked. This is a high priority for the city, particularly now that the comprehensive plan was just adopted this week on October 27th, 2020. As I understand it, the code for R3 zoning was written with the intention of using section 1404 3A minimum lot area requirements for one structure with multiple units in one lot. Example, a 4-unit attached apartment townhome structure requires 16,500 square feet. And using section B for large apartment complexes of 4,000 square feet per unit. In regards to the 11.96 acres subject parcel, that would yield a maximum of 130 units, which comes out to a density of 10.9 units per acre. If you can meet this requirement along with all other zoning and subdivision development requirements, you will not need the PUD. However, the PUD allows the developer to be more flexible in the design of the development. And you responded, thanks Diane, yes, this becomes very confusing in the code does not. I thought after our last meeting that we agreed that we could use 3A since there was a conflict. This would put our numbers at, and he gives numbers and he comes out with 258 total units at 21.57 units per acre. I also remember a comment about not exceeding 18 units per acre, but I don't remember where that came from. That was November 3rd.
Issues that way.
Well, the old code with the multifamily, the way that it was written, it's like one section is, if one building is on its own lot, and the other would be applied if it was multiple buildings.
All under R3.
It's under R3.
Multi-family.
The R3, even though it's zoned R3, it still has the subcategories of single family, duplex, and multifamily.
No, November.
It was October when, yeah, November 3rd. They, what was that?
The date
Oh,
on
for
the,
the comprehensive plan was adopted.
this is the old code that I just pulled up. For people watching this on YouTube or fine. Gosh, it's right there. Okay. Here it is. there was single family, two family, multifamily. And the intent of this was when there was a rezone that they would identify single family, two family, or multifamily based on their intent for the use of the property. For single family, for multifamily, there's 4,000 square feet or the 80 feet for the first two dwelling units plus 20 feet for each different dwelling unit.
Difference is under A, regular B works out in A. Something a long time ago where this made sense somehow, but.
So your issue is,
My issue is getting into the weeds a little bit. Yeah, there's all kinds of things, and even the 18 units per acre is the max. It's problematic. Right now, it's going to have to develop a piece of property. Had rights, rights to it. And now, from the same, we take all of the away and see. That's the crux of it. Yeah, I would love to stay R3 as we are today and not change anything and have all those uses available. But that's not really an option. So at this point, we've been running down the multifamily road. So our request would be the only thing that's comparable, which is the R4 and that. In apartments. In apartments.
If it's the density.
Yeah, but I mean, not.
I mean, you should bring in concepts.
Yep.
here's what I'm trying to get to. It's, you have a concept. And you said R3, but it doesn't seem, there were some issues with it. I was trying to figure out how far did it meet the R3 back then? You know, that's what I was trying to determine, and where you were with that compared to obviously this is the whole coverage. Yeah. And then to me, you know, you have to see that. To me personally, if you're meeting the intent of the R3 project, you know, I think I would consider it. But if you just put, you know, 8,000 units on the R3 and we had a concept plan to show that it wasn't close to the old one, that's the story. So that's where I'm trying to figure out what the difference is.
Absolutely. And I mean, Morris and Chip put together the plan, so they didn't say this agreement versus John County. They have to provide the green space, they met that, setbacks, they met that, parking ratios, they met that, the buildings, they met that. Then the question was, okay, let's look at this, every staff will look at it, comments on what we're showing here, connection points, general layout, because we had gone through a few different iterations and also land uses on the property. And the density was where we left that conversation today, as I remember. It's been quite a while. Okay, can we use the 3A section of the code? That's more forgivable. Now, have I run crunch those numbers? I've not, because the next thing we did then was we had to hire an architect because I'm running around with them with, I'm using a Lindsay footprint, is what I was using, which is their kind of typical garden style apartment. So we're laying out sites just to see if they're feasible, but that's not what we're gonna build. We're not building their building. So the next thing I need to do is go find an architect, hire them, get them on board, and that's where we've been. They just got us a full set of plans in the last 30 days. What's funny is that I was wondering what the date was on when they said they were gonna be working on these code changes, because of the high priority. I said, "It was a long time ago." No, same time we met on our apartment, so we've been tracking about the same speed as far as us working with our architect, getting our plans done, and staff getting these code. To your point, all I can do at this point is look at it and show you.
And so you were, 3A, 17.53 units per acre. And obviously, it's been discussed that had the opportunity to that's obviously it's hard. But in my opinion, we have the option to go. Based on the numbers.
We had, back up. It was just a concept. We had some.
Say just right.
But also,
It wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna change my mind.
Really is this change. Just brings it into the, in a previous email, we asked whether it was single family, multi-family.
There is one certainly confirming, and that may have been, that email could have been part of that chain, because we're in the, that email is referring to our meetings talking about multi-family development, correct?
that was at the end.
Yeah, so I mean, we're talking about
More
this being
before.
allowed as a.
So.
Well, but it also talks about that you would have, there.
Yes, I'm just saying multi-family
That
is
it would
allowed.
need to be a PUD and meet certain requirements. There were no amenities shown. There were a lot of questions.
Let's see what was the.
Well, we didn't know. Well, no, his whole design layout. Because the multifamily was zoning was actually geared toward one building on one lot that had more than two.
Believe.
Not a multi-unit.
We left them, we had a meeting, and I'm gonna ask Morris and Chip as well, I think it was Larry that was there. But we met on a multifamily development side, we already had the conversation of PUD not required. Multifamily is clearly a permitted use in the zoning district. Can we meet the standards? That's when we talked about which standards we use. I know part of the email was, can we use 3A? That's the one that gives you 17 or 18 units per acre. I don't remember if we resolved that, but how I remember it is you can fit in these standards. You do not have to do PUD. PUDs are for when something's not allowed. This this is a use that is allowed. So the PUD was something that was brought up, but my recollection, talked through that, it was not a requirement. Unless you couldn't see it.
So my question is, yes or no, that was never shared with them. Shared, that's what we want. Was there a question of that? Just down the road, for whatever reason, steered them to the same thing.
What year do you think that race was from?
Oh, we'd have
I
to whole
think
file.
I'm gonna disagree with you on the first one. But
Oh, here it is.
Based on an email, that conversation got that point.
R2,
Right,
R3.
that's the
We
next-
just, Diane went back and forth saying, yes, 3A, 3B.
It was clearly like,
Where?
Or we wait till the end and say, oh, never mind.
right, I agree with that.
Then the response would have been, you can't use 3A, 3B, and other.
It's what we've talked about in the past, is what we have to be careful about. Let it go, but later, like, they turn- With all their intentions, they come in and say, we need to do all this stuff. They turn around and sell it. And then, the next buyer of that property. Granted by that.
Well, you guys have
That's
gone
what I'm-
through.
that's
weeks
what I'm-
from these properties.
Okay, here we go.
R3.
All right, here it is right here.
It's a blank
Now
slate.
he's got a different interpretation. What was presented.
Okay, well, back in,
That's where
okay, in 2016, what came to the planning commission was the owner's intent is to rezone 55.62 acres from R2 to R3 for development of a single family subdivision.
Two things. One, I would, for intentions rate, I'd like to find the email where we already had this conversation. Two, I always want to make sure we're talking about the correct property, because I believe what was mentioned earlier.
Southeast
South-
corner of Stephen Keller.
Yes, that is. I heard earlier. Again, there's an email that already goes. Why we would have meetings in the city county, got some apartments. If we wasn't allowed to, we've already had the conversation. But if we're gonna talk about a previous zoning. That's talking about the southeast border, which is single family. Southeast property.
Resident and property owner. Back. Residents were property owners. Burton creates the comments. Joey and I may differ with that, but that is the standard.
You're speaking to the public or individual or an applicant, you're saying this, we're all intending, this is what we all understand. We change our mind down the road. That's not okay. So,
So it's a different type of law. That kind of direction. Sounds like. Yeah, this is essentially rezoning. Without order to do.
R3 to do R3 that's how it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be out there like it to tell you how hard it is to do R3. typically when you're up, you get a lot of flack with the hard process. In this case, us as the owner weren't aware that we'd be down to them, because the only way to do it is have to
You're certainly not going to be the only one that pops up in this situation. So, that's your act. Same thing. It's like,
Then and this was one that did not state what it was. And this one right here. All the other ones stated if it was single family, multifamily, or duplex.
Yeah, they did. Back a long time ago.
Yeah, if it's existing, I completely get that.
But ones that were not existing, we looked at what the ordinance, the approved ordinance from city council stated if it was single family, multifamily, duplex. And their, what went to planning commission. There were just a few that weren't.
This is gonna be a tough, this is gonna be a tough question, but obviously this is a legal issue. When we're doing this, to resolve some sort of legal issue or potential. Better defining what they've done to single family. So, retroactively going back and doing it based on the request, which we determined was, how is that not the same?
Well, this is done by city council can rezone property. So the intention of this rezone is to look at those of the properties and zone them to the best use. So that needs to be identified and recommended.
So if they can rezone it, why do they do? Well, that's the county question. They keep the back.
Thanks.
Honestly. Say, how would you like our we send it on. And or if we decide that it should be. Then we can say multi-family. Actually, all the other stuff. But you but that out.
For this amendment. It's like it would be all for, which is the higher stops. As three of them. Situation, but I'm back in my, had the ability. Uh,
No, 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 no. I'm just, you're looking at it, you're kind of looking at it. And really, I feel like that's.
You're right. Yeah, I am.
But that's up to the commission, I mean, up to the council.
Okay,
The planning commission, I would think would look at what is the best,
well, that's where I was going.
what's the best zone?
Right.
What,
So legally, he had the opportunity to build that family previously with the R3 zone. Whether or not what developed around it, I don't know. It developed, how that developed out the timeline, but the fact of the matter remains, if we didn't do this, he could still do some sort of.
And when that was being developed, you could still.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, doesn't matter. So I would, in my opinion, I would support that in this location. Now, from a planning aspect, does it fit? Everything around is single family, there's multi-family, caddy court past the C3, that would be a little shot at it kind of fit. What does the complex?
Once it catches up. Actually, it is commercial. Commercial,
Oh, really?
no,
Medium
not-
is south. That's-
yes,
That's,
oh, wrong one.
Yeah, we'll see.
My bad, my bad, my bad, my bad. It is medium density, let's see. Medium high density residential. Apartment in the, would be high density residential.
so from a planning aspect, it would be the R3.
No, the medium high density residential is for single family townhome and duplex in our comp plan. This is in the land use plan, not zoning. And then the high density residential is for your apartments and multifamily.
So I just say apartments.
but we kind of added in that.
Well, we have the ability to,
Correct. Which would fall under the medium high. But as far as the comprehensive plan and the land use plan, the high density residential would be a true multifamily apartment. Yeah.
just look at this.
Correct. The zoning does not currently match the land use plan.
Question would be, what is on that color, what is the land use plan say it's supposed to be?
Let's see.
To change the.
Right.
It should push through. Twist.
Residential. Medium crime. Medium high density residential, which on the land use plan is what this is similar to low to medium density residential, but with higher overall density. Consists of detached and detached single family residential homes with a density of 7 to 11 units per acre. Attached single family residential homes include townhomes or duplex residential projects. These areas encourage a greater variety within centers and housing stock and allow for more flexibility. High density residential is areas that consist primarily of townhomes, apartments, condominiums, senior housing, special types of group living, workforce housing, and a typical density of 11 units or greater per acre. These are maybe our town. I believe so, in the context of what we just removed. That density was the
Yeah, in the comprehensive. No. Now, the zoning change is saying, no. So it's like we worked our way up the ladder now, everything changed behind us. And no. So it's arguing that way.
But at the time that that was done, they mapped everything. We want to use everything from that.
To, yeah.
Lots of things to discuss. Higher overall density. We discussed tonight on Title 14, that would be either Ward 3. Town homes, pretty much, yes. Another, I guess, another option. Highest. Yes, it's those dense use that. It's gotta be black and white. I mean, but can you get it? Because it's driven by cuts, so it's not. Family, yeah. That's what our option. Or. They are.
That part of the code really needs to be coming back now. In my opinion. Well, and but that was what,
Enjoy it.
that was one thing that was just discussed with the council. A single family, and if we wanted to come back with consideration, but they felt like that he wasn't given enough notice and to the commission, so they wanted to be able to have the opportunity.
All right, so if I were to make it. I could say. Recommend to the county based on the current land use map. This is.
So your motion would be based on this to approve Title 14.
Which includes,
All three.
this is a single family based on the land use plan.
Yes, it would approve the map as,
Presented previously. Basically, your motion to send it back to the council with, the motion to send it back to city council as previously.
Well, John, I'll second that.
Motion. Second.
So yes, means you're sending it back as is, correct.
Okay, and with my rationale. Current steps, not what was done under the previous.
Second.
John Sessoms.
Right. Yes.
I was just.
Yes.
Craig Linford. Kevin Murphy. Ben Lewis. Tony Davis. Okay. I have left Joey Engel. And Jeff Sapar. Did I get everything?
Council meeting tomorrow for the seventh?
no. Not till,
August 10th.
Did I get
I
everyone?
feel like.
I think
Should
so.
probably be in.
Yeah, I feel like.
Oh, yes.
It's all yes.
4, 5, 6, 7.
Oh, yes, even if you have,
Yeah.
leg stand on.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate that. Thank you.
When will it be on the calendar?
Where's the land use map? I did all that searching online and looked down and went, hey, look, there it is.
All right, moving on.
Ah,
We have an additional public hearing under new business. For the master street plan amendments.
Joey, I'll make a motion to open.
Thank you. Anyone opposed?
Can if I can.
these were, I'll start while you ponder. This was to meet up with the Bentonville Master Street Plan. And Want to take a break since half of them been for 3 minutes? Only two? All right. All right, sweet. Just wanted to ask first. Wow. All right, I'm having technical problems. Sorry, guys. And these were the changes that are proposed from the Bentonville Master Street Plan.
We had actually gone through these with you before and also at a work session. Yeah.
No.
I will bring up some, work property. Here. Okay, where Bullet Road comes in and then goes along, Big Side. There was concern on. That's the, Cindy and Paul going right through the middle of his property. There's the other Walters Road and Calhoun Stable. Good connections there, that is a little bit. The curb and so forth, that the consideration of. But instead of making a new road, you do Bullock Road to the north. And that way. Yeah,
Great.
yeah, it's gonna curve it, it's going to curve anyway. So why not use the existing roads and that way, yeah.
Second call. Third final call.
John Bush,
Would be this one, the Bullock Road extension to Highway 72, shift the London to east and line block. Sorry. Let's try. I made you lose it. Sorry. Yes.
That's part of it. Most more elevation. That's the reason I have it. There are no-
John covered most of it. The only thing that is outstanding is just the covenants. We have received them, but I have not gotten a response back from Brian on those. But we did receive the bonds today. They were correct. They do have the correct date for the council meeting, which is tomorrow. And the performance bonds have also been received, as we hammered out at the last planning commission meeting. The adjacent street agreement, of course, now Walters Road has been paved, so solved that issue with the county, but y'all did say that the agreement with the county was assurance that it would be completed. The drainage record drawings and everything have been received and approved by staff. And also the fire access, a drive has been completed to connect to a farm road to the north of the property. Since they were doing it in phases, they had to meet the fire code for the remoteness rule. So they have that with, they do have the street constructed. It's not paved, but it will hold fire. It's sure not planning. It's rigged, as far as I know. It's rigged. Correct, unless it's a state highway, then of course. I'd be highway.
All I've ever seen.
That's what we have. issue.
Not just me saying.
You just make it up on your own.
Any questions or comments from the commissioners?
Correct. And I don't foresee there being an issue with that. I just have not heard back from him. Schuber Mitchell did provide them in ample time, so.
With that, I would-
It's John, a motion to approve subdivision twenty lines. Plat, ending.
motion is second, ready to vote. Next on the agenda this evening is Timberbird's subdivision 2018 Timber Ridge Phase 2 preliminary plat plans. Timber Ridge Street, R3, 5 acres, 6 lots. You do the short straw plan. Short straw plan.
Yes. Well, by this time we can. So this subdivision is 52 lots with most of the south side. That's-
That's up to you all, if you feel like you're ready, or if you want to. We can go through the final changes. So, make sure that that's what you.
Final next time.
On phase two, he's going to make changes that. Oh, no, now wait a minute, that's phase one. That was clean up phase one. That's phase one. Phase two is detail. That's we went over in our work session. Okay.
Either be for, discussion to have discussion at another meeting or to set a public hearing. That was kind of on the schedule. Okay.
Let's-
There's a lot of tentative items.
Well, I guess it's to add.
Let us know when it gets done by.
Yeah.
And you could redline. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't get on there.
Good. Next planning, P3. Personal lesson.
And the tech review meeting is Zoom. Still. So, you added that on there and it on the final page.
I don't know if all of you, but Leanna has given her notice.
She's like banging up.
Moving to Florida.
She thinks Florida's gonna be better than us.
I know anyone, that's a position open,
So-
because my wife, I said, she's like, you don't have a position open to support, I'm like, what?
So, yeah, if you know of anyone that
It's very organized. It can keep all of us in line.
and juggle a lot, and
Again, I know we've had a couple of work sessions, we've had some longer discussions, this evening on this, Title 14. Master Plan, everything better, I think we're going down the right road, so. And, our collaboration with the council, I think we get better.
John, I motion to adjourn.
Devin and John.
Joey, the second.
John and Joey.
No, I thought it was Devin.
Devin made a motion.
All right. Hey, that's an excellent AJ quote. AJ was a so move guy. So moved.
So moved.
Yeah.